It seems to be the right film at the right time, and I don't know if that's that sense of childlike wonder that it can engender in an audience, or maybe it's the emotional processing that they go through when they watch it. Almost everybody that sees it tells me that they cry or they tear up at some point. So I think it's working on multiple levels.
The way of water connects all things.
You know, there were a lot of things I wanted to say with the film.
Before your birth and after your death.
A strong sense of outrage and injustice about what was happening to the natural world, what was happening to indigenous cultures around the world, the state of nature and of our sort of cultural disconnect from nature. I'm a storyteller. I love having a camera on my shoulder. I love hand-holding. I love working with actors. The actor creates the emotion. The actor creates the moment. It's our job to make sure that everything the actor did is preserved in their CG character.
This family is our fortress.
In this video, I will explain in one single word why Avatar and Avatar: The Way of Water are so successful and have made over $4.5 billion together.
Dad, I know you think I'm crazy, but I feel her. I hear her heartbeat. Just so close.
So what does her heartbeat sound like?
Mighty.
James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water has taken the top spot, beating Top Gun: Maverick to become 2022's highest grossing movie and now become one of the highest grossing movies of all time. This is all coming after a 13-year hiatus from the first movie. The creator and director of Avatar is James Cameron, a man who in 1995 wrote an 80-page script about a far-off magical world called Pandora, a world he had been dreaming of and having ideas for most of his life.
I almost bailed on being a filmmaker. And the thing that kept me in the game was the possibility of the Avatar universe reaching a lot of people with a persistent message and reaction on the part of the audience to maybe fight for and protect that which we're losing.
He took his ideas to his VFX studio and asked if they would be able to bring this film he'd been planning for decades to life in an almost fully CGI movie.
I had this visual effects company that I had co-founded with Stan Winston called Digital Domain. And I wanted to do something really big, and I wanted it to be cutting edge, and I wanted it to incorporate CG animation.
Unfortunately, the VFX team told him that it was a pipe dream and that the technology was nowhere near where it needed to be to create such a project.
So we wanted to do something so big that it would really push things. And when I brought it in and I let my guys at Digital Domain break it down, say, all right, what can we do? What tools do we need to develop to do this? They said, you're basically out of your mind. We're not going to be ready to do this for years.
Obviously saddened by this news, James put Avatar on the back burner, not sure when the movie would be made. That is, until he watched a little movie called The Lord of the Rings. The fully motion capture CGI character Gollum convinced James that now was finally the right time to move into production, even going so far as to invent and pioneer new 3D technology. And then, in 2009, after decades of dreaming and planning, Avatar was released in theaters, and eventually ended up becoming the highest grossing movie of all time, a record which the movie still holds to this day. But Avatar wasn't just a one-project endeavour. James Cameron had a whole multi-film arc and world he needed to build. He wasn't just going to stop after the opening act, so naturally you would assume that he would jump right back into production of the second one, right? Well, not exactly. James had a specific vision and idea for the second movie, which involved a lot of underwater scenes. And much like the first film, the VFX technology just wasn't right at the time, so what did James do? He waited until the VFX technology could handle what he wanted to achieve, and the movie eventually started principal photography in 2017. He was so confident in the movie, in fact, that after watching some of 2018's Aquaman, James came out and said that it isn't realistic enough.
I've spent thousands of hours underwater. I'm very literal about my underwater. It needs to look like it's real.
And boy, does the underwater stuff in Avatar: The Way of the Water look real. Now, why does any of this matter to the overall point? Because filmmaking isn't a routine product, it's a passion, it's an artistic outlet that demands time. And that's the point. The big word that sums up Avatar's success. Time. Taking time to get the story right, to get the VFX work correct. Hell, even taking the time inventing new technology that will push the industry as a whole forward. Did you know that they got all the actors to learn how to freedive so they could film for longer periods of time underwater? Kate Winslet even broke the world record for longest underwater breath hold by an actor at 7 minutes and 14 seconds, absolutely destroying the previous record held by Tom Cruise, who held his breath for 6 minutes. Hell, even Sigourney Weaver managed to stay underwater for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. They even invented new technology that allows them to film the actors in motion capture gear while underwater. James and his production company even partnered with Sony to create a new camera specifically for the Avatar sequels called the Sony Venice. This isn't just a practice that takes place behind the camera either.
It was almost done, and they were complaining about the flying scenes. Why does this flying scene go on so long? You've already proved the point. It doesn't advance the narrative. It doesn't advance the character. I said, you're right on every count. You've ticked every box like a good studio executive. But guess what? I want to see it. And I extrapolate from that, and Stanley Kubrick was a firm proponent of this principle. If I want to see it, my cognitive leap is there are going to be lots of people that want to see it and want to see it for itself, not for its purpose.
The fact that we get to spend time with these scenes that maybe aren't so integral to the overall narrative, but are really just there for the joy and wonder of it, is what sets apart a passion project from a checklist product, like a lot of what Marvel-type comic book movies have become recently.
Because there is a purpose to the things you want to see. The purpose is to be present, to be in that world, to be enjoying what's happening, to sustain a feeling. So those flying scenes actually did have a big purpose. That's when Jake and Neytiri fell in love.
So go see Avatar: The Way of Water. Support the hell out of it because it represents something missing in a lot of the big box office market today. And that is the ability to give itself time to get it right. And recognise that sometimes the audience just spending the extra time in that world can make all the difference. So be passionate about what it is you love, because this isn't just a lesson for film, it's a lesson for anything you dedicate yourself to. Take the time to get it right and produce something you're proud of, because when it's not the best it could be, the audience can tell.